These are my inventory lists. These are all that I have to do. There are 9 of them. The top half of the inventory list are what I call my active buckets. These are the places that I live my life all day long. When I have free time in my calendar, and we will talk about calendaring in a minute, this is exactly where I go. I don't sit there and try to think of what do I need to do next. I go right there and it tells me. The first category list is next actions. The second category list is next calls. The third one is errands I need to run. The fourth one is at home, and the fifth one is personal things that I need to do. You can call it whatever you want. You can make up your own names. The only thing that matters is that you have defined lists that make sense to you. These are the ones that David and I agreed to create. They made the most sense for me. The second set of inventory lists, the bottom 4 that are in white, are what I call your passive lists. I don't live in these every day. I review them once a week. They are as follows. My business planning goals. You remember the goals you picked out yesterday and all the action items? They need to be in here. Projects. I'll define projects later. Someday, maybe. You've got a lot of these. There were a lot of notes that you took over the last 3 or 4 days. A lot of things that are not in your business plan that you would like to do someday. So you're just going to try to keep them all up here, or you're going to get them in a safe place that you know you can count on when that someday comes around. And lastly is waiting for. And these are the things that I'm waiting for other people to do to close loops for me. And this is maybe the most important list of them all. So, let's take a look at how this works. It's really easy, folks. Simple. Do not be intimidated by technology. I'm not that swift at technology. This is easy stuff. Quick and easy. Control-Shift-K on your keyboard. Control-Shift-K creates a next task. Control-Shift-K. It's right there on the PowerPoint slide that you have in your book. So, if one of those voicemails is from Ed Conarchy, I simply hit Control-Shift-K. What is it? It's a phone call from Ed Conarchy. Can I do it in 2 minutes or less? With him? He's so long-winded. Are you kidding me? It'd take like an hour. Okay? So what's the next action? To put it in my calls list of next calls that I need to make. Control-Shift-K. Simply type Ed Conarchy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Alt-G. Alt-G automatically opens up the category list. Now you notice in the top right-hand corner it says Add to List. This is how you create categories. All you need to do is in that box at the top that says At Calls, you would simply type in, if you're customizing this category list, you do this one time and it's saved forever. You type in At Calls and you click on Add to List and it shows up in the list here. It becomes a permanent part of your category list that will always be there for you anytime you hit Alt-G. So it's literally that easy to customize Outlook this way. So Alt-G pops open the list and I check Next Calls. Alt-S saves it. Control-Shift-K creates a new task. You type in what it's going to be, a phone call, an email, a meeting that you need to schedule, something you want to talk to your personal assistant about, something you want to talk to your spouse about, whatever it is. You have a thought, you get it out of your mind, you get it in here. Control-Shift-K, type it in. Alt-G opens up the category list. Click on the category that it belongs in, Alt-S, save, it will end up in that inventory list. I'm driving down the freeway. I never listened to that Linda Ferrari interview on credit scoring. That's a part of my business plan. Gosh darn it, what are you going to do about it? You're not going to try to remember it anymore. You're going to get it into your ubiquitous idea capturing tool. I write it down on my piece of paper. I put it in my inbox. At the end of the day, I process everything that's in my inbox every single day. This is so fast. I mean, it takes, everybody always asks the question, how long does it take you to process your inbox at the end of the day? 10 minutes. That's it. I could process 20 tasks in 10 minutes. It's the same step over and over. Control-Shift-K. Listen to the Linda Ferrari interview on credit scoring. Alt-G, next actions. Alt-S, save. It's it's now in my list of next actions, of things that I need to do when I have free time in my calendar. Okay, for those of you that decide to ping yourself, you email yourself the Linda Ferrari interview. Or any email for that matter. How do you handle that? On that day with yourself, you've got all these emails in your inbox too. We never address those. Those are the one thing that you're not going to actually print all those and put them in that stack on your desk. Okay? Just leave them in there and we'll make sure we process all those out of your inbox at the end of the day, so that's at 0. Really easy, gang. You right-click on the email. Right-click and drag it to tasks. You see the screen up here? Right-click, drag. Release the right-click and click on the third one down, which is move here as task with attachment. This is a shortcut instead of Control-Shift-K. It pops open the exact same window. Listen to the Linda Ferrari interview on credit scoring. Alt-G, next actions. Alt-S, save. So it's right-click and drag. Release the right-click, click the third one down, which is move here as task with attachment. Type in what it is, Alt-G, categorize, Alt-S, save. That's how you get your inbox to 0 every day. Let's look at the contents of some of these inventory lists. Tough for me to read from here. These are next actions. Just to give you an idea of what some of those next actions might be. Set up a loan application with the Smiths. Do post-closing interviews with Jones, Kirkpatrick, and Klaus. Schedule a half day to evaluate where focused opportunities exist for direct mail. This might be an action item from your business plan. So let's talk about that business plan of yours for a minute. You got 75 to 100 action items. The old saying goes, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? So are we going to try to do all 75 of those action items next week? Obviously not. We're going to pick 1 or 2. Think about it for a minute. If you have 100 action items and you take 2 weeks off of work next year, you have 50 weeks. Don't need the HP calculator to figure out that if you do 2 a week, you'll be done next year at this time. Only 2 a week. It's not that tough. So every single week, you just pick the next 2 action items in your list and you put them in here as next actions. I'll get to how to do that in just a few moments. Let's take a look at calls. Pretty simple process here. Call all of my agents about the weekend and whether or not they have any new people that they need me to qualify. Call Richard Blythe, my accountant, about placing mortgage rate update flyers on his desk now that it's tax season. Call Nick about the Blackman's appraisal. These are just all next calls that I need to make. So when do I go to this list? Whenever I have time, whenever I have access to a telephone. Just like you do all day long, you just kind of randomly, haphazardly decide when to do it. And you don't know at any given time all the calls you need to make. So sometimes you make calls that actually aren't the highest priority because you don't have a list to go to and go, okay, here are all my calls. What's the most important one that I need to make right now? This one. Because you're trying to remember all the important calls you need to make and you're not capable of doing that. Next bucket, errands. Go to Barnes & Noble and buy marketing books. Take pictures to get framed. Pick up my dry cleaning. You ever had this happen before? Maybe it's a Saturday morning and your spouse says, you know what, we're out of milk. And could you go run to the store and get some milk so we could have breakfast? And you say, sure. And you jump in your car and you drive to the store and you pick up the carton of milk and you're 3/4 of the way home and you're thinking, oh man, could have picked up my dry cleaning. It was right down the road there. Anybody ever have that happen before? Creates a little stress for you. Big time waster. Didn't close another loop when you had the opportunity to, when it was right in the same neighborhood. How cool would it be if when you went to go pick up that carton of milk, you simply looked at this list of other errands you needed to run and said, oh, I think I'll pick up those tennis shoes I need to pick up. It's in the same shopping center. The reason that you didn't remember to do it is because you don't have a system. You're trying to use this as your system. At home. Review wine magazines and select reds to buy. Write to my family in Croatia. Edit family videos. Shop for kids gifts online. These are things that I can only do or only want to do at home. Maybe after I put my children to bed at night. 9 o'clock at night, want to check, nothing good on TV. Is there anything that I needed to do at home? Oh yeah, just go to that list and it tells me. Oh, that magazine article that I wanted to read or that thing I wanted to check online. Let's take a look at personal. things to teach my children, look into getting a vasectomy. Wow, talk about closing loops. Go get a massage, things that I need to do personally for myself. I had that done several years ago. I hope I don't need to get it done again. All right, so those are the active buckets. Those are the contents of the active buckets. I think you get it. Now let's talk about the passive buckets. The passive buckets, or passive inventory lists, are not things that I review every day, all day. These are things that I look at once a week as a part of what we call the weekly review, which I'll be explaining that to you in just a few moments. The first list is business planning goals. So if you take a look at this list in your notebook, you notice that I even have the exact numbers in there. Goal 3.2.2, to implement a consumer direct marketing strategy. Goal 3.2.1, to understand and effectively use best practices in consumer direct marketing, et cetera, et cetera. Now, if you double click on any of these goals, what is contained within each of them are all the action items. So what you need to do when you get home is you need to take, thank you very much. I'm getting really old, I think, and my eyesight's going bad. When you get home, you need to take those goals and you need to put them into Outlook under tasks. So you need to create a list. Remember how you do that. Alt-G, type in business plan goals, add to list. You do it one time and it's done. You type in the very first goal, goal priority number 1, type in the number, the name of the goal, double click on that and type in all of your action items so it's there. It's a part of your system. It's a constant reminder. You live in this system. Let's take a look at projects. Yes. Sure. Gary, can we get, so you need this screen in the back. Okay, that's fine. You're welcome. And remember, you have all this in your workbook. I put all this in there for that reason, so you can take this home with you and look at it. But by all means, please put it back there for them. Projects. Let me define projects as David Allen defines them. This is very important. A project is defined as anything that has more than one action associated with it. Anything that has more than one action associated with it is a project and should be put in the projects list. Let's take a look at some of my projects. Execute my business plan. I would say that has more than one action associated with it. Post-closing interviews. Ongoing. I mean, you should be calling all of your clients after you close a loan to thank them and to see how you can improve your service. Weekly team meetings. Every single week you should be meeting with your team. It's an ongoing project. Set up social meetings with CPAs and financial planners. Call all of my realtors. Follow up on leads. These are all projects. They all have more than one action associated with them. Next. Someday maybe. These are things that I might like to do someday, but I'm not going to do them now because they're either not a part of my business plan or I just don't have time to do it. Let me give you some examples. Attend Stephen Marshall's Strategic Equity Program. Form a masterminding group of my referral sources to meet once a quarter. Hire a personal marketing assistant. Develop and implement a consumer educational seminar series. Things that you don't want to forget about, that you thought were good ideas, that you'd like to make sure that are on your radar screen, that are on that dashboard at all times, so when you review this list 6 months from now, you say, oh, you know what? I think now's the time that I want to do that. And you're not forgetting about something important.